Ugh, ads are such poop. Subscribe to Acast Plus now to skip ads and more for just $1 a month. Click the link in our show notes to learn how. And hey, we're on Patreon too. Your support helps cover the cost of running a podcast. For $2 a month, you can get early access to all our episodes ad-free, plus bonus episodes exclusive to Patreon subscribers only. Visit patreon.com/sacrilegious discourse to sign up now. Welcome to Sacrilegious Discourse.
I'm husband.
And I'm wife.
Together, we're reading the Bible for the very first time.
We grew up without religion and wanted to know what all the fuss was about.
Well, what have we learned so far?
That God is a dick, and apparently some people believe in talking donkeys?
We're not trying to pass ourselves off as experts.
Nope, we're just reading the Bible for the first time and giving our first take reaction.
If you'd like to join us in this venture, you might consider starting at episode 1.
Otherwise, jump in wherever you like.
All right, let's go read the Bible.
Yeah, let's get to it. Husband!
Wife!
Do you know what this is?
Yeah, I think we're doing our book club thing.
Yeah, because it's Sunday, we're doing Sacrilegious Book Club.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, and we are reading a treasury of Jewish folklore, stories, traditions, legends, humor, wisdom, and folk songs of the Jewish people.
Okay.
Edited by Nathan Ozibel.
Sounds great.
Yeah, and today we are going to learn about resisting temptation.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway.
So yeah.
Shall we get on into this then?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okie dokie. Okay, so this book, A Treasury of Jewish Folklore, started with part 1, which was Jewish Salt. Do you remember us reading stories in that section?
Yeah, it feels like forever ago.
It was, because now we're in part 2, which is Heroes.
Okay.
And the first part of Heroes was Wise Men, and we read a bunch of shit under that. And now we are in part 2 of part 2, which is Holy Men. And today we are reading about resisting temptation.
Okay.
Which starts on page 165.
Let's see how these guys resist temptation.
Well, there's no introduction.
No
It
intro.
just hops right into the story.
They don't want to tempt you.
No, they
with
don't.
With this chapter.
They don't. Now, I'm only going to read a couple of the stories. I think 3 of the short stories out of this section. Okay. One thing that I found really cool about this section is that I assumed that resisting temptation would all be about men trying to avoid the temptation of lusting after a woman.
Right.
And there were several stories that fell under that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the first one I read is definitely going to do that.
Okay.
But they also had some other stories that were resisting other kinds of temptation, which I thought was cool.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to read one of each of those.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first one I'm going to read is called Rabbi Amram's Temptation on page 169.
Okay.
Once some heathen brought a number of captive Jewish girls to Nahardea. Yes,
Yeah.
that place is where he brought them to.
Got it, yeah.
The Jews in the town redeemed them by purchase from the hands of the heathen. So he had slave
so they
girls.
sold slaves. Okay.
And then the Jews bought them to redeem them. You know what I mean?
Right, but do they still be slaves?
I don't think so.
Okay.
The girls were then brought to the house of Rabbi Amram Heseda, the holy, to spend the night there. Everybody knew that no more secure place could be found for them than in the home of the saint.
Okay.
Rabbi Amram had the girls led up to the garret and then ordered the ladder removed from there. During the night, when all were fast asleep, one of the girls came to stand at the garret window. Rabbi Amram looked up and was dazzled by her beauty. He became confused, could not understand what was happening to him. Finally, a mysterious power triumphed over his better judgment, drawing him up to the garret, to the captive girl with the luminous face.
Okay.
I promise it's okay.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I mean,
It wasn't his fault. Satan was possessing him.
Oh, of course. It's
Yes.
always Satan or
Yeah,
something.
men are totally in control of their dicks, like I've always said they are.
Yeah.
And when they're not, it's not their fault, it's Satan.
Right. Okay.
They're not monkeys.
Okay.
They're just being possessed by Satan.
Yes. That's not true.
No, that is not true at all. Rabbi Amram lifted up the ladder, which was so heavy that usually 10 men were required to move it.
Wow, he really was
he wanted
tempted.
to fuck bad.
Yeah.
In that instant of his passion, he became so strong that he himself was able to carry it to the garret. He began to climb the ladder rung by rung. When he had ascended halfway, he regained control of his emotions and cried out, "Fire! Fire!"
The fuck?
He pulled the fire alarm. Hearing his cries, the rabbis who lived in the neighborhood came running to help him put out the fire. But when they saw that there was no fire, they reproached their colleague. "We are ashamed of you, Amram."
Okay.
"Far better that you should be ashamed of me in this world than that I should be ashamed of myself in the next," replied Rabbi Amram.
So he understood that he wasn't going to be able to stop himself.
Mm-hmm.
So he literally called fire.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but he resisted temptation.
Yeah, he did. I guess.
I think that maybe he shouldn't have fucking been tempted in the first place.
I think that original statement where this was the safest place was false.
It was also, really? That was the safest place, huh?
Right, yeah.
Those
this
poor
guy
girls
who almost
raped them.
Right, yeah.
Now, the story before that was called Nathan with the Halo. And I'm not going to read it because it's like 2.5 pages long.
Mm-hmm.
But just to give you a sense of where these stories are.
Yeah.
There was another man who was in love with this woman who was married. But he was so in love with this woman that he was like sick. He got sick.
In love or lusting over her?
It said in love.
Okay.
But she was beautiful. So I guess probably in lust fits better.
Right.
But he was so in lust that he got super sick. Okay. And he could not even leave his house anymore.
Poor guy.
Yeah. So at the same time, the beautiful wife, her husband got super sick. Right.
Okay.
And so he couldn't pay his bills. And so he went to debtor's prison.
Oh.
Yeah. That sucks. Whereas the first guy, he's super rich.
Right.
Okay. So the husband that's in jail in debtor's prison, he's like, beautiful wife, go ask the rich guy if he will lend you enough money to pay off my debt so that I can get out of jail, so that I can work, so that, we can pay off the loan.
Yeah.
And she's like, I think that's a bad idea. You know that dude's in love with me. Right? And he's like, well, fuck you then, because you're just going to leave me here to rot. You suck, bitch. Now, obviously, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically how that went.
Right.
So she wept and went home and was like, oh no, whatever shall I do? Wherever shall I go?
Right.
And then she went back to the prison and he was like, you gonna do it? And she's like, God, no, he's in love with me. It won't be good.
Right.
You're trying to make me like go prostitute myself to him or what? Jeez.
Right.
I'm sorry you're in prison. Like, what can I do? And he's like, you don't do this, I'm going to die and go to hell anyway because, I'm in jail. So fuck you anyways.
Jesus.
Yeah. So finally she goes back home and she cries a lot. And then she comes back and is like, fine, I'll fucking do it. Whatever.
Uh-huh.
So she goes to the guy and begs for money. Right.
Yeah. And
he's like, oh yeah, I'm so in love with you. I'm going to fuck the hell out of you. Right.
Okay.
And then she's like, but please don't, because I'm a married woman. You're going to trash my marriage. And, don't you want to, you've lived an upright, perfect life up until this very moment. Don't ruin your place in heaven that's assured to you through one stupid moment.
Right.
And whatever she says, like, gets through to him. And he's like, oh, you are so right. I feel terrible. Here, take the money. Go help your husband. You're right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So then, he feels so shitty because, Satan left him. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he started feeling better. He got better after that.
Yeah.
Right. So he feels so bad that he repents, and never looks at another woman again. Right. But one day he's walking around town and this rabbi's like, wow, you're looking mighty halo-ific over there. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, So the girl paid the man's debt, her husband's debt, and he got out of prison, but he's like, I know you fucked him. Like, yeah, even though she did what he wanted, then he's like, I know you fucked him. You're a cunt.
Wow.
And she's like, I didn't though. I love you. I did everything you wanted me to. I promise I didn't. And he's like, yeah, right, whatever. And he totally doesn't believe her. Yeah. So anyway, this rabbi's like, wow, rich guy that used to be in love but now isn't. You have a halo over your head. What's up with that? And he's like, I do? I didn't know that. Like, what's up? And so he tells him the whole story of what happened to him and that he feels like horrible. And so anyway, the rabbi takes him under his wings and is like, you are a great example of repentance and of not giving in to temptation, which is what this section is about.
Yeah.
So I'm going to teach you the Torah. So he becomes this great wise man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one day, the husband is like walking by and he's like, who's that wise man over there? And then they tell him who he is and he's like, oh shit, my wife wasn't lying. And so then he goes home and he's like, my bad, you're great. And she's like, no shit, dumbass. And everybody lives happily ever after the end.
Yeah.
But
except for that all men are stupid in the Bible.
All men are gross, but it's not their fault.
Right.
They're taken over by the devil.
I guess.
So that's a theme. The reason I didn't read it is too long, but I had to tell you about it so that you can see that that's a fucking theme.
Yeah.
Okay?
Got it.
In this section. And so I have to ask, like, are they really overcoming temptation?
No. This is bullshit.
Yes. So, okay. But that's it. I'm not getting into that fucking sex bullshit anymore, okay? The next story is A Real Thanksgiving. And it also is on page 169. Okay?
Yeah.
Motke the drunkard and Fischl the guzzler.
The guzzler.
These are their nicknames.
Okay.
The drunkard and the guzzler. Okay?
Got it. Yeah.
They were in a repentant mood. They swore never to touch a drop again as long as they lived.
Good on them.
They shook hands upon it and started for home. So their temptation is alcohol.
Sure, okay? I got that.
On the way, they passed the village tavern. Things were merry over there. Snatches of song floated to them through the open windows. How jolly it is in the tavern, sighed Motke. I thought we agreed never to set foot again in that accursed place, Fischl reminded him in a chilling voice.
Right.
Oh, it's my old weakness that's drawing me there, sighed Motke. Oh, that's just the way I feel about it, muttered Fischl gloomily. I'll tell you, suggested Motke. Let's close our eyes and run past the end without looking at it.
Yeah.
You're right. The temptation is too great, agreed Fischl. So the two shut their eyes tightly and ran like the wind past the tavern. Phew.
Good job, guys.
After a little while, they stopped running and opened their eyes. Oh, nobody's going to say now that I'm a weakling, cried Fischl, the guzzler exultantly. I tell you, Motke, it's wonderful to have a strong will. With it, you can overcome every temptation. I feel offering thanksgiving to God for having escaped this danger. I tell you what, chirped Motke, the drunkard, brightly. How about going into the tavern and offering thanksgiving over a nice glass of schnapps?
Oh my God.
So, again, I ask you, did they overcome temptation?
Nope.
Okay, here's the last one I'll read. It's called Satan is Never Lazy. And this one starts on page 170.
Okay.
It was a cold, wintry morning, and not a soul could be seen on the street. What was the amazement of the shamus when the door opened and the rabbi came in all bundled up? Why so early, Rabbi? It's cold enough to freeze one's ass off, he remarked. It actually says ears, but I preferred ass.
Yeah.
Did you say early? Said the rabbi with a deprecating gesture. When I woke up and wanted to dress, I suddenly saw the evil spirit before me.
Oh, no.
Sleep a little longer, Rabbi. The cold is so terrible outside, he argued persuasively. Be reasonable. I've got to get up and go to the synagogue for morning prayer, I appealed to him.
Yeah.
Don't be a fool, Rabbi, said the evil spirit to me. It's so nice and cozy in bed. Stay a bit longer.
So people sleep in because of evil spirits?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
Impudent fellow, I cried. And that's what you call the devil.
Yeah.
Impudent fellow.
Yeah.
You weren't too lazy to get out of bed so that you might lead me into temptation. So why should I, a rabbi, sleep like some pampered lazybones?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so what do you think I did? I told him to go to hell where he belonged. I jumped out of bed quickly, and here I am.
All right.
So that was a short little section on overcoming temptation.
Great.
And I don't think any of those people overcame temptation.
None of that gave me any hope or inspired me in any way whatsoever.
None of them took personal responsibility for being tempted in the first place.
Yeah.
And then all of them took pride in overcoming the thing that they said wasn't theirs to overcome because it was the devil.
Right.
So I'm like, you didn't beat the devil, you beat yourself.
Right.
And maybe you wouldn't have been so tempted in the first place if you took responsibility for your actions and admitted.
I think that's the problem. Like, that religion allows people to offset their responsibility, and they don't have to abide by things that people deem normal,
right?
Because it's God taking care of it. And if God fails or if Satan tempts you, it's not your fault. It's all something else's thing that's happening.
Yep.
And I'm like, no, it's you. It's fucking you.
Yeah. Sometimes you fuck up and sometimes you do a great job.
Right.
And that's the human
but if you
experience.
If it was you if you're the only person that has to improve, at least you know that you need to work on you.
Right.
Not some deity that's trying to tempt you or whatever.
Right.
It's fucking stupid.
Yeah. So I had a real hard time with that section.
Yeah, that was rough a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I didn't appreciate it, quite honestly.
Well, it is what it is.
It is too, isn't it?
It is. So that was our book club for today.
That was Sacrilegious Book Club.
And we'll be back in 2 weeks with our next book club. I will be getting together our weekly replay tonight. And then we'll be back tomorrow with
Job chapter 21.
All right. We'll see you guys then.
Bye.
Hey, wife. I guess that's the end?
But husband, that's just sad.
It doesn't have to be. We are on lots of social media platforms like Twitter. Our handle there is sacrilegious_D.
For D's nuts.
Oh my God. Stop doing that. Anyway, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. There's a link to all of our social media sites at our website.
Ooh, we have a website?
Yeah, it's sacrilegiousdiscourse.com, where you can also find a link to our merch shop.
We have a merch shop?
Yep, we have podcast-themed clothing, mugs, notebooks, and more, as well as an atheist and science-themed products.
Wow, our fans should really go check that out right now.
Definitely. They can get in touch with us by sending an email to sacrilegiousdiscourse@gmail.com. But before they do that, we could really use some help.
Oh yeah? With what?
Well, it's not free running the podcast, and we need some financial support in order to get better equipment, which will free up time so we can concentrate on our podcast and our fans.
Okay, so what should they do?
Head over to patreon.com/sacrilegiousdiscourse and sign up as a contributor on our podcast. Supporters there receive additional bi-weekly episodes that we record just for our Patreon members for as little as $2 a month.
Also, we'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe on whatever platform you're using.
And Apple Podcast reviews help us out tremendously.
Like and subscribe. Leave an Apple review. Join us on Twitter. Support us on Patreon. That's a lot of instructions. Don't forget to say thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.